speaking it's only because we've got one mic and we're not trying to
we've
kiss
got to
each
try
other,
and speak
but...
straight into it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live.
Brilliant. So, welcome to Pig Pods, your success podcast. I'm Angelos.
And I'm Mo.
Today we're joined by James Clarke, Director of the New Land and Home Department within Langtown and Country, who has decades worth of experience as an estate agent and has been selling new build houses for over 10 years. Welcome, James.
Thank you. Thanks for having me along.
So today we'll be looking at how to buy a new build home, specifically from a first-time buyer's point of view, and looking at some of the pros and cons of new build versus older type properties.
So, James, what is a new build home and how is it defined? And are they just for first-time buyers?
Well, new build homes, apartments or houses, bungalows aren't just for first-time buyers. They're defined normally by the Council of Mortgage Lenders, where they class a new build home either a newly built house that's come out of the ground, or a bungalow or block of flats, or what we're seeing more of now is conversions of commercial actually into residential property, and a lot of lenders still class that as new build housing.
Okay.
That's interesting, yeah, that even conversions, like commercial conversions that you wouldn't necessarily think, they're actually classed as new build these days.
Yeah, and I think actually it does catch some developers out because the Council of Mortgage Lenders, when the mortgage value will come and value the, say, apartment in a converted warehouse, they'll expect certain warranties and sign-offs to adhere to the actual mortgage lender's criteria, and actually sometimes it also changes the amount of deposit that a buyer needs to put in because it is classed as a new build home.
So, talking of buyers, James, are new build homes purely for first-time buyers, or is the market open for everyone?
Yeah, the market is definitely open for everyone. We see new build homes. Personally, we deal with new build homes from normally 100,000 up to 800,000. So they're certainly not just for first-time buyers. We see lots of families, in particular a lot of retired couples and people that are downsizing. They want to buy that new build for low maintenance, that ease of move. So it certainly spans the whole marketplace, really.
Great. So the government have been quite ambitious. They want to build 300,000 new homes per year. Do you see this happening? And what kind of skills and resources and changes do you think we need to make to actually reach what is quite an ambitious target?
Yeah, I saw that press release come out a couple of months ago, and it's when you look at isolation at, say, Plymouth, an area that I work in, there is a real shortage of not only land available to build, also funding available for developers, and also then the skills on the ground. So, we look at things like Sherford that we're heavily involved in, and they are building, a great amount of houses there. But when you look at that and make it nationally at 300, I think looking at last year, the exact numbers, but there are around 150,000 new build homes delivered. So I don't know how they're planning to just double that overnight without putting some sort of real measures in place, whether that be freeing up land for development, making the planning process a lot easier, but also probably training a lot more people to actually get into sort of useful house building trades.
So, talking of planning then, James, what changes do you see needing to happen in order to free up that land or increase the speed or increase the efficiency of the planning process?
From our perspective, I think one of the sort of key things for developers is they will come and talk to us to get an appraisal on a site based on what they think they can build, but then that process to get actually planning granted, depending on the size of the development, whether it needs to go to committee, it's certainly not a quick fix, and actually there's a lot of in-depth reports that need to go alongside the planning application, and that process can be fairly lengthy. So a lot of developers will sit on land and land bank until effectively they feel it's the right development to move at that time. So for me, it's trying to speed up that planning process.
Are there punishments for land bankers?
I've seen a lot of talk of it in the paper. Have I seen it in practice? No, I haven't. I think the government are very keen to deliver new build housing. And I think also there are costs for developers with either whether it be Section 106 or SIL payments, and maybe there should be some sort of incentive to actually speed up the process of building houses by maybe reducing those amounts if they bring it to the market within a certain amount of time. That might be another way of getting other developers to bring forward their housing stock.
And you mentioned skills, potential skills shortage as well. Is that what you find with kind of big developers that are looking to do new build units? They're struggling to find the resources?
Yeah, I think particularly in Plymouth there seems to be a real shortage of trades that can work on sites. From my experience on other sites that I've been on, they are bringing in trade from out of area to try and meet the demand for what they're building just in Plymouth. So I imagine that's happening nationally, which is going to slow up the release of new build stock.
Just very quickly before we move on to how to buy your first home, what about the materials? Is there a massive demand for materials, and are the manufacturers of those materials struggling to keep up with the demand?
Yeah, certain projects that I've been involved in where we've been obviously focused on completion dates for buyers to move in, there's been delays on little things like beading to render walls, to insulation, and those things have cost us weeks, months because of the delay, because the next trade can't get in to deliver the house. So I think there is a national real uptake on all materials, and I think it's hard for suppliers to overnight double capacity when obviously the amount of demand increases.
So James, there are obviously a lot of pros with buying a new build home.
Yeah.
No hassle, you just move in and everything's there, colour of the carpet of your choice.
Yeah.
But there must be some cons involved with buying a new build home. Can you perhaps give us some pros and cons of a new build versus an older type property?
Yeah, I think new build doesn't necessarily suit everybody. Some buyers like to buy a house that needs renovation and they like to put their own stamp onto it. You would then not sort of put those buyers in the camp of a new build house because they want to do their own thing and actually renovate their own home. Also, sometimes location drives that, because some people want to be in a certain location, whether that be for a school or a job, and actually in certain parts of, when you look at just Plymouth, certain parts of the city just don't have new build housing because they don't have the land available to do that. So I think those are the two main criteria why people maybe shy away from a new build house. And sometimes people, without looking at them, sort of think that actually new build houses are smaller than second-hand, say, houses in the market. Not always the case, but I think sometimes that's a perception in the marketplace as well.
And from a kind of guarantee and warranty point of view, what's the difference between something that's already there and something a new build property?
Yeah, so we work on a variety of different sites where different developers offer different types of warranty. There's a fairly standard warranty that a lot of the larger house builders will use, and actually some of the smaller ones now as well, which is usually a sort of 10-year warranty, and that might be supplied by NHBC or Premier or Build Zone, depending on who the contractor is. And then also a lot of developers offer a builder defect period, so usually like at 12 months, for example, after completion, before their warranty kicks in. So that gives, I think, some buyers who maybe aren't prepared to do work and don't want to do work, the opportunity of peace of mind, really, that actually if something goes wrong with the house or needs to be fixed, then they've got that warranty behind them.
So that's a really good point, I think, to look out for the warranty when people are looking at a new home. So as part of that, what is the process in buying a new home, and how is it different to kind of a normal house buying process? Yeah,
again, a little bit like the warranty, each developer works on a different way of reserving. For instance, with the larger house builders that we work with, they have a sort of a reservation process where you will come in, basically pick the house that might be off plan, or it might be able to view a show home.
So just for people listening, sorry, the off plan, can you just describe?
Yeah, so off plan will, the majority of time, will mean that there may be a house built by a developer. Say there are another 50 of that type on a site, they will then look at a site plan and then a plan of the house and pick which house they want to buy. At that time, they're usually given a guide on when that house will be complete, and they'll put down a reservation fee to secure that house, and then they will go through the process of buying. The difficulty sometimes with buying off plan is typically mortgage offers only last for 6 months, and sometimes the house might not be built for 12 months. So it's then talking to an agent like us, or if we are working with a larger site, then actually talking to the site sales agent. Where it's a developer that we are fully in operation as their pure sort of sales agent. We also work on a reservation basis, so the client would put down a reservation fee. That would then take their home off the market for a period of time, which gives them the opportunity to exchange contracts. But just like a normal residential purchase, they would instruct solicitors, mortgage companies, enable them to buy.
Depending on where you are in the country, you see you see a kind of trend of increasing house prices over time. Do you ever find that people that are buying or reserving off plan actually move into something that is worth more than they paid for it by the time they move in?
I've seen that. I started an agency in 1998, so I've seen some sort of interesting years, and certainly there was a time when people were actually reserving off plan, selling the property while they were buying it off plan, and actually making money during that time. And we certainly see that house prices, apart from a number of years, have theoretically sort of gone up in value. So actually, once they've reserved, that price normally has gone up by the time they've completed. Obviously, it's not always the case, but that's actually been a sort of general thing that we've seen happen in the market.
So talking of pricing and deposits and the value of new homes, James, so from a point of view of a young couple, let's say, they only have a tiny deposit, what hope do they ever have of owning their own home? Do new builds allow them an easier way rather than looking, let's say, at an older type property?
I think the main difference with new build housing in particular is certain incentive schemes that have been set up by the government to actually move new build houses and make them a very attractive proposition. There's varying different schemes out there. The most sort of used scheme really is Help to Buy. That by far has been the most sort of popular new build scheme in the marketplace.
Can you just explain what Help to Buy is, please?
Yeah, so for a buyer who's looking to buy, say, a £200,000 house, but they've got only a 5% deposit, which is a lot of money, but actually is all they could save, which is very understandable. So what the government will then do is put in another 20%, so 40,000 effectively they will put into the purchase, and effectively then the actual buyer is then only getting a mortgage for 75%. What that's enabled the buyer to do is get very attractive mortgage rates, because effectively they've got 75% loan to value, and enables them to get onto the ladder a little bit maybe quicker than what they were doing if they were then trying to buy a £200,000 house in the open market that wasn't a new build. You do have to pay back that 20%. It starts in 5 years sort of time. It's interest free until that period, and then I think from memory it's about 1.75% interest for the remainder of the 25 years. Or if you sold the house, they then get the sort of 20% back, and that can either go up or down.
And do you find that most, let's say, I'm using as an example, young couples use this Help to Buy scheme to buy their homes?
I think certainly on new build schemes where they are able to offer Help to Buy, that is a very widely used scheme to be able to buy. Interestingly, it's not only for first time buyers, so as long as you're a home mover, you can actually use Help to Buy, and it's a really popular way to get actually onto the ladder. There are other schemes, various developers that we work with do special deposits for service personnel. So it's definitely worth, if you're thinking of buying a new build home, talking to the agent about the various schemes out there.
I didn't actually know that it was available to second movers and things like that as well. I thought it was just first time buyers Help to Buy. That's interesting.
I think the public's perception is it's purely for first time buyers, but as long as you're a home mover, then you can use Help to Buy and you don't own another property effectively.
That's interesting. Another scheme is sort of, and I don't know if you deal with any of it, but shared ownership and schemes like that. Can you just explain kind of how that is?
We have dealt with it in the past, and it's a really popular, again, way of people getting into the housing market. All sort of housing providers that offer shared ownership do it in a different way. So if you're thinking of doing the shared ownership route, it is worth contacting the independent sort of social housing providers, because they will all have their own schemes, but effectively it gives you the chance to buy a percentage of the house, so say 50% of the house, and then you pay a rent for the remaining 50%, and a lot of the providers offer you the chance to purchase the other 50% in time. So it gives you the chance to put your money into something tangible that you are actually owning and can actually afford to buy the remainder of that in time.
And in both shared ownership and Help to Buy, if the house price goes up in the time that you're there and you then sell, the provider, whether that's the government or whether it's the shared ownership provider, do they enjoy some of the uplift of that? So you have to share it for the benefit.
My understanding is that they do. They also take the downturn if it goes down, is my understanding of it. But certainly with Help to Buy, that is the case.
So just going back to first-time buyers again, is there anything specifically they need to be aware of? So they're going in to kind of look at their first purchase, looking at new build. What kind of things should they be aware of?
I think firstly they should talk to a mortgage broker, just to get sort of whole of market advice, because when you're buying a new home, sometimes certain lenders expect more deposit. So first-time buyers should be really aware of that, so they don't agree to buy something because they've got advice on a second-hand residential property and then realise they need more deposit when they come to secure a new build. So that's really important. I think they should also look at specification, so what's included in that house when they come to buy it. Some new build schemes, the show home is dressed beautifully, and that's what they're there for. They're there to sell the product. So it's then understanding what they will get in their new home, and also understanding the warranty as well, so they know how long the warranty is, how they contact the provider if they have a problem, and also sort of looking at their reservation as well. So the key thing is, how long is that reservation for, so they know they need to certainly adhere to certain timescales to exchange contracts without losing their reservation fee. So that's something that's really important, I think.
James, I've heard that some new builds are not built very well. Are there any guarantees with the workmanship post 10 years, or does it have to be within that 10 years? And just playing devil's advocate here, are we building the slums of tomorrow, if my earlier statement is correct?
I think it's obviously difficult for us to comment on a variety of different developers. Yes, I'm not going to lie to you and say I never see those reports in the press, in the paper. But I think the key thing is it's trying to understand why we are getting some of those reports. I think some in the past that I've seen have been down to speed of trying to deliver so many new build houses, which just aren't feasible with the amount of trades and professionals on the ground. I think the idea of obviously you're going to have a survey, but I appreciate that's very difficult when the house isn't built. So it's understanding that, has it been signed off by building regulations, is key, and also with the new build warranty providers, they have a duty to inspect the build at certain times, because they effectively are going to take over that warranty for the 10 years. But my understanding is it is just for the 10 years, which you would think if there is going to be a problem, fingers crossed, it's going to arise within 10 years.
Yeah. And what do you think what do you think is the future of the new build homes that are being built today? So we've got obviously existing stock that's been around for hundreds of years and things like that. Do you see that new build homes that are built today are then going to be refurbished the same way that existing properties of a different kind of construction type are, and that kind of thing? How do you, or are you going to just tear them down and start again? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because in my time in agency, I'm starting to see what I perceived as new houses. You take an area which is called Mallerton Park, for example. That was a very large new build scheme. From memories back to sort of 2002, and it spanned across 3 different developers. But now I'm going into those houses that I always perceived as new, and they've got new kitchens, new bathrooms, completely redecorated. They've taken the coving down, they've plastered the Artex ceilings. So I'm seeing that effective sort of shell being reinvented to make it far more modern, and sort of work and be competitive with new build sort of style and finish, really.
Fantastic. So that was really interesting. So thank you. How do people get in contact with you should they want more information?
Yeah, so I'm James Clarke. I'm at Langtown and Country. I head up the Land and New Homes department. My phone number is 01752 256 000, or my email address is james@langtownandcountry, which is andcountry.com.
Brilliant. We want to know your thoughts and experiences on this topic as well. Do you own, or are you looking to build a new home? Do you want some more advice, or perhaps want to share your experiences with it? So please drop us an email at hello at pig.network, or get in touch on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. James, I just want to thank you again for your time, and I'm sure listeners at home will have gained lots of great information.
Thank you for listening to PigPod's Your Success podcast. Please click subscribe, leave us a review, and we look forward to your comments in the PigPod Facebook community.
I've been Angelos.
I've been Mo.
And see you again on the next exciting PigPod.